Leading with conscious intentionality is about being honest and deliberate instead of being flawless or endlessly introspective. It's about waking up each day ready to consciously shape your thoughts, to regulate your emotions and align your behaviors, to make decisions that uphold your values, and to build processes that include rather than exclude, as well as nurturing communities that can grow alongside you. It's about practicing leadership as a series of purposeful acts that consistently return you to who you are and what you're here to do. Specifically, conscious intentionality is to let your deepest commitments guide your daily leadership, one conscious step at a time. Each of the dimensions of conscious intentionality plays a critical role in shaping how you think, how you behave, how you decide, and how you act as a leader. And often it's in ways that run quietly beneath your awareness. Your thought patterns are actually filtering how you interpret challenges. Your emotions can either guide or hijack your tones and decisions. Your behaviors create the relational fabric that either builds or erodes trust. Your actions, especially when you're under pressure, show where your priorities actually lie, while the processes that you uphold determine whose voices matter and how power is shared. And the communities that you nurture sets the tone for what accountability, safety, and belonging actually look like. This is why it's so important to understand and navigate these areas with intention. When you leave these areas unexamined, they continue to shape your leadership by default, often reinforcing old patterns and misalignments. But when you bring deliberate awareness and choice to each one, you can begin to steer your leadership from a place of grounded purpose. As you navigate these challenges in real time, intentionality becomes a practical map that keeps your daily leadership rooted in what matters most. The first dimension, which is intentional thought, asks you to look closely at the stories that you tell yourself. Your thought patterns shape how you interpret challenges, how you make decisions, and how you respond under pressure. When left unchecked, old narratives, inherited beliefs, and scarcity mindsets can quietly pull you out of alignment with what matters most. The Conscious Intentionality Framework guides you to recognize your habitual thought patterns, question the assumptions behind them, and to get clear on whether those beliefs actually still serve you and your team and your purpose. This is where mindset calibration becomes a real leadership practice and not just a self-help concept. The next dimension is intentional emotion. Many people seem to think that our emotions are disruptive to our leadership, but in reality, they're the most influential data that you can capture as a leader. Without bringing intention to our emotional states, those feelings can leak into our decisions, confuse our communications, or create unnecessary fear and distance within our relationships. Conscious intentionality helps us to learn and name our emotional states, to trace them back to the triggers or the context, and to choose how and when to process or express them so that they serve our collective outcomes and not just our personal relief. And this might look like pausing to breathe before a high-stakes conversation, or building habits of emotional labeling so that you stay aware of what's driving your tone and your presence. The third dimension is intentional behavior. This is where our leadership becomes most visible. Your daily habits of how you listen, delegate, interrupt, celebrate, or hold silence all send clear signals to everyone around you and reveal whether or not your values are lived or simply spoken. Conscious intentionality supports you in connecting these behaviors back to your core commitments and noticing whether or not your patterns strengthen or undermine your stated values. With this insight, you can bring intention to and reinforce habits that build trust and intentionally disrupt those that erode it. The next is intentional action. Unlike our daily behaviors, actions are often context-specific and carry much higher stakes. They can include how you navigate change, how you resolve conflicts, how you hire or promote, or how you respond to crisis. And they are the moments that reveal whether your leadership under pressure matches your leadership in calm. Conscious intentionality here invites you to slow down long enough to clarify your purpose behind these actions or decisions, and to ensure that they advance equity, integrity, and your long-term goals. Intentional processes take this work beyond the individual moments and into the systems that you build and maintain. Specifically, how are your meetings run? Who has a voice in your decision-making? How is performance evaluated? Too often, our processes are inherited or designed for efficiency alone, sidelining things like equity and critical thinking. Conscious intentionality here challenges you to audit these systems, ensuring that they're transparent, inclusive, and genuinely reflective of the values that you claim to hold. When processes are aligned, they support conscious leadership at scale, reinforcing trust across your team without needing constant personal intervention. Finally, intentional community is the last dimension, and this reminds us that leadership is relational at its core, and that our actions are continuously shaped and influenced by those around us, as well as the other way around. Every choice that you make shapes and is shaped by the communities that you belong to and lead. Intentional community means fostering spaces of mutual accountability, psychological safety, and belonging. It means building relationships that can hold space for truth-telling and repair, not just harmony. Conscious intentionality encourages you to look at who you learn from, who supports your habit changes, and how you invite feedback, as well as whether or not you're nurturing environments where people feel safe to grow alongside you. Taken together, these 6 dimensions turn conscious intentionality into a holistic leadership discipline. They ensure that your work doesn't just stay abstract, but becomes anchored in the concrete domains where your influence plays out every day. Today, we just read a quick excerpt from Conscious Intentionality, which is the second book in the Leadership Consciousness Essentials book series. If you're interested and want to learn more about the book series, you can find the details below.